everyone! Welcome to episode 21 of Otome Shimai.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Vika.
And we are sisters who play Otome games. I'm so excited.
I am so excited too!
I'm so insanely excited because this is our first episode since we went on hiatus for Vika to get married.
That's right. I am a married lady, guys.
You are a married lady. You are a Mrs.
I am a Mrs.
How does it feel?
Really not different from being a miss.
Yeah.
But it was really fun.
It was really fun. Your wedding was amazing,
Yeah.
and I was so happy to be there for it.
Yes.
You were so
I'm
beautiful.
So glad.
You're still
Thank
so
you.
beautiful.
It was a beautiful wedding, and I'm really happy to kind of get back into the flow of normal things again, which includes Otome Shimai.
Yeah. So other than you getting married, did you do anything else fun?
I didn't. Well, actually, other than me getting married, I took care of you when you threw out your back.
I'm really sad that you count that as a fun thing.
It is my duty as the older sister, but that's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I did throw out my back. I'm doing okay now, and I did manage to do at least a little bit of dancing at your wedding. It was mostly me standing there swaying back and forth.
Yeah, but it was great. Everything, I can't wait for the photos to come back.
Yeah, me too.
So today, we're doing our second installation of our mini-series, Reviews in Twos. So we're going to be reviewing Otome games that we played together by discussing them in 2 episodes. This first episode, which is this one, will be a spoiler-free overview of our opinions, and then the second, not this one, next one, episode 22, will be more of a reaction episode with heavy spoilers. So if you haven't played the game before, and I should probably tell you which game we're talking about, you'll want to listen to this episode and not the next one. Our Reviews in Twos this time is focused on Piofiore Faded Memories. Piofiore.
Piofiore.
Yes.
Is that how you say it?
No, I say it Pipifiore, but I will introduce it as Piofiore for those people who are not ridiculous like me.
You are definitely ridiculous.
Yes.
Piofiore Faded Memories or Piofiore no Bancho. But before we get into that, Vika, who are you doing this week?
Who are you doing this week? Maybe that's it!
Did you get it?
Who are you doing this week? Okay, I'm gonna have to I'll put some music to that and see if we can make it a thing. Okay. For me, I am doing not a who, but I guess I've been playing a lot of Tears of Themis. At the time of recording, what's happening is there's the Symphony of the Night event in the game, so I think it's a little more mystery than we're used to for Tears of Themis. And hopefully by the time this episode airs, oh, I'm sorry, my cat. So hopefully by the time this episode airs, I will have solved the mystery and figured out what happened and got the cards that I wanted, because I still haven't gotten them all. I've only gotten 2 that I want. But, yeah, that's what I'm doing. What about you?
So I am doing Raoul from Cupid Parasite.
Kupipara!
Yeah, Kupipara. So I'm doing this in Japanese. I started playing Cupid Parasite before the localization came out because I am very slow at playing these games. So if I had waited and actually bought the localization, I wouldn't have been able to talk about it for like 4 months. But it's... Honestly, so Cupid Parasite, just in general, is one of those games where you start to play and you're like, oh, yeah, this is okay. And then you maybe might want to stop playing for a little bit because you're not super into it, or you just get distracted by another game, and then you come back to it and you play a little bit more. And the more you play, the crazier it gets. This game is completely insane, and by completely insane, I mean like it is the most insane game I have ever played. So don't be fooled by the cutesiness of it. It's cuckoo.
Yeah, from what you've shared with me in all of our chats, I can tell it's really ridiculous, like really out there. I can't wait to see what everyone else thinks because the localization's coming out soon.
Yeah, it's coming out on the 2nd, so when this episode airs, it'll have come out last week.
Nice. Hopefully everyone will be enjoying it then.
Yeah.
Should we get on to today's main topic?
I think we should get on to today's main topic, Piofiore, Faded Memories.
Piofiore!
So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the general plot, a general summary of Piofiore. Mm-hmm. What is this game?
Okay, I love the fact that this game is not set in Japan. Or in America, for that matter.
No, it's not. This actually is something that makes this game quite unique, because I feel like a lot of Otome games, if they're not set in Japan, then they're typically set in like some sort of fantasy world, or potentially America, or like a pseudo-America. This game is not.
This game is set in Italy, but specifically 1920s Italy.
Yeah, like Italy, like post-World War I, and right when like the fascists were really coming into power, and so it's a really interesting setting.
Yeah, it really is. Like, oddly historical for a game that's not historical. But the general summary of Piofiore is that our MC, Liliana Adornato, is a 21-year-old orphan living in a church in 1920s Italy, and then...
Mafia!
Suddenly mafia.
Suddenly mafia.
Yep. And then problems.
And then romance.
Or murder.
Or both.
And then the end.
Yes.
That's basically the game. Pretty succinct summary, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but it's super interesting. The story, it's a mystery.
Yes.
Like, Lily, the MC, gets drawn into this problem. And...
the world of the mafia, basically.
Yeah, the world of the mafia. And she has to kind of, like, figure out what the heck is going on and why she's being dragged into it. It takes place in a city called Berlone.
It is a made-up city.
It is a made-up city, and I know this because I searched for it, and I also spoke with our father about it.
The reason why she spoke with our father about it is because...
Dad lived in Italy when he was younger.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was playing this game, for some reason, I decided to look up and try to figure out what kind of lighting was used in the houses in this period of time in Italy.
Did they have electricity?
Yeah, did they have gas lighting still?
Yeah.
What was going on there? And so I was asking Dad about it, and Dad was like, well, let's look this up. And so we did a whole bunch of research, and after about 30 minutes of doing the research, he was like, wait a second, why do you want to know this?
Why do you want to know about lighting in houses in Italy from the 1920s?
And so I got to tell him about this game that has mafia, weird legends, a lot of Catholicism, so much coffee and food.
Coffee and food. Not to mention gambling, wine, and murder.
So much murder.
So much murder.
There's murder everywhere in this game.
There is murder everywhere in this game. Despite me really enjoying murder games, I didn't pick up this game until kind of recently. Like, I just finished it.
Yeah.
And I played the game in English, the localized version. You played the game in Japanese.
So I actually played this game about 2 years ago. And I remember when I was playing, you were like, oh, I'm so excited for the localization to come out. And then there was other stuff going on, so you didn't get to it until quite recently.
And then life. But yeah, I would say it was definitely worth picking up. We've talked about our beloved MC before. Yes, our lovely Liliana Adornato. Lily.
Yeah, we talked about her in MC's Manifesting Major Moxie. Lily was one of our favorite MCs.
Yes, we love Lily as an MC. I think the thing, and we've said this before in that episode if you want to go back and listen, Lily is more of a realistic MC to me. She's smart, she asks questions, she's kind of a critical thinker. She doesn't just go, oh, okay, whatever, na. She's really, like, into it, and oftentimes she helps them in their, like, investigation. She helps them in their decision making. Like, she's a very integral part of the plot, not just there as like a experiencer or a romantic participant. Yeah,
and she definitely has her own personality and her own beliefs, which I thought was really great. She was raised by the church. She is Catholic, and she has discussions with the LIs about her personal religious beliefs. And I just think that it's great that there's an MC who has her own opinions and her own beliefs on things.
Not only does she have her own beliefs, but she maintains them, and she doesn't have to necessarily agree with the LI.
So since Lily was raised by the church, she can seem a little bit naive at first, but as you go through the story, you realize that she's not necessarily naive. It's just that she was kind of raised in a little bit of a bubble, but she learns very quickly and she's very inquisitive. Also, she was raised in a church that's in the middle of a city that's run by the mafia.
Yeah.
So
can't really avoid it.
She is aware.
Yeah, she's not a dumb MC. She's kind of brilliant. So needless to say, as I was playing through this game, I really loved experiencing it through Lily's eyes. I thought she was pretty great.
So what about our LIs? This game actually has 6 LIs, but we're only going to talk about 5 of them because the 6th is a secret character. So we will only mention that person's name in the next episode.
That's right. So today we're going to be talking about the leaders of each mafia faction and Orlok. Let's leave Orlok for later. Let's start with Dante.
Dante Falzone,
Yes.
the young head of the Falzone family.
He's the capo.
And the Falzone family is the main mafia family in Berlone. They've been there for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
They were originally the only mafia family. And Dante is quite young. His father died. I think he was like 18 when he ended up becoming the capo.
Right.
And was kind of thrown into that situation.
This poor guy.
Yeah.
I really like Dante as a character. He seems super grumpy on the outside, but he's actually just super awkward.
Yeah, he is. He's awkward and he's shy, and so he doesn't know how to interact with people.
I think he does a really good job of trying to portray that, like, epitome of a mafia boss on the outside so that he can show, like, hey, I'm the capo, I'm in power, like, I'm the leader here. But inside, you know that he just loves sweet things and sugar in his lattes.
Yeah, he's like a secret cinnamon roll. I mean, okay, so you have to understand, every single LI in this game is a murderer.
That's right. Every single LI in this game is a criminal. They are all bad.
Yeah. Like, there is no innocent person in this game except for Lily. Like, the only person in all of this who has not done, like, horrible things that would get them thrown in jail is Lily.
In fact, some of the LIs get thrown in jail.
Yes, but we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Dante really quickly. He's a secret cinnamon roll. He is. He's grumpy, but he's actually quite sweet once you get to know him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do the murdering things, but he has to in order to protect the family.
And I think he really takes his job seriously.
He does, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He takes his job seriously, and
he cares about the family. He cares about making sure that Berlone is safe and doing what he needs to do as the boss of the Falzone. I think he's great.
Yeah. Speaking of the Falzone family, the second LI that we're going to talk about is Nicola Francesca, the underboss of the Falzone family, who is the number 2, and he's Dante's older cousin.
Yes. So there's this whole thing about how Falzone family is centered around the bloodline. And Dante, even though he's younger, is the capo because of their bloodline.
Yeah, so the former capo was his father, and only Falzone blood can run the Falzone family.
Exactly. So that's why Nicola is the underboss, because he's not technically a Falzone. His last name is Francesca. But either way, what do you think about Nicola?
Nicola is a lying liar who lies. But he is also hot AF.
I agree.
He is so attractive, this man. He wins for best CGs in this game.
Oh, he's so good. I really like Nicola. In fact, I like him so much that I decided I wanted to play him first after you played, because I just wanted to see everything.
He's a very attractive man.
Yes. I would say Nicola is okay, maybe not the most attractive, but he's pretty up there in my scale of attractive LIs of games.
Yeah. And it's made very obvious in the game that he's known to be attractive.
That's right. He is the fuckboy of Falce.
Which is the area that the Falzone family is based.
That's right. Well, it's assumed anyway.
Yeah. He's shown being a little flirty.
When you meet him, like, it's very flirtatious. Very flirtatious.
He winks at her from, like, across the street, and she's like, who is this man?
He's sitting in a cafe, and he's like, oh, pretty lady. No. But I really like his personality. I think for me, personally, I like guys that are a little bit of a tease and know how to hold their own, because that's definitely Nicola. He is a lying liar who lies. I agree. But in his relationship with Lily, like, it's very playful and teasing, and I like that dynamic.
Yeah. But one really important thing about Nicola is that the number one priority in his life is Dante.
That's right. Even after he builds a relationship with Lily, Dante is still his number one.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, he was raised that way, and I think he loves Dante to his core. He will do whatever needs to be done to protect Dante.
Yeah, even if it means doing some extremely nasty things. Nicola's kind of the person in the family who gets his hands dirty the most, I think.
Yeah, he also has his own agenda, his own way of doing things. He doesn't necessarily agree with everything Dante does.
Or believes in. But his end goal is still to protect Dante. Yeah. One really big difference between Dante and Nicola is that Dante is...
He's very pious.
Yeah, he's very pious. He's much like Lily. He takes his religion very, very seriously. And Nicola has his own opinions on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. I really like Dante as a character. I really like Nicola. The Falzone family, overall, they're pretty great.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about someone who is maybe a little less great?
You mean our leader of the Lao Shu?
Yan.
Literally, this LI is just all the trigger warnings. If you have triggers, you will encounter them in Yan's route.
Yeah, and we're not even kidding. Like, this is a serious game. This game is very, very dark. And a lot of the darkness comes from Yan. Like, there's darkness in all of the LI's roots, but Yan's...
Like Vicky said earlier, they are all murderers. They are all criminals.
They are all criminals.
We are saying our opinions about these LIs as people, but also consider that they are criminals.
But Yan is definitely the worst.
Yeah, he is.
It's like the writers kind of thought to themselves, okay, let's take a flaming bag of trash, but make it sexy.
Yeah, and that's this LI.
Yeah, this is Yan. Like, he's very attractive. He's very hot.
Oh, he's so hot. Like, even people who don't play Otome games, like, I have a friend who I was playing at the time, and I was doing Yan's route, and she's like, wow, like, he's hot. And I'm like, you don't even play Otome games, you don't know. And she's like, but look, the tattoos and the hair, like, the vibe, it's sexy.
The voice,
oh, so sexy.
Yeah, he is hot. But there is so much wrong with him. I think out of all of the mafia bosses, he's probably the only one who gets legit entertainment out of murder.
Yeah. I think for Yan, he has two basic emotions. Either bored or not bored. And he's not bored when he's murdering people, that's for sure.
You don't want him to be bored.
Yeah, you don't want him to be bored. He's gonna be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of sex in his route.
Yeah. Some of it's even consensual. Go Lily, he hot though.
Yeah. Not kidding.
I'm not kidding around. Yeah, I'm not kidding around either.
Not kidding about the trigger warnings here, guys.
I think a lot of people probably like Yan. I didn't like him as much, but he was very enjoyable to play through. Like, that's really interesting for me as, like, experiencing through the Otome game, because usually I'm like, oh, my favorite route is my favorite LI. But in this case, like, I really liked Jan's route. It was good. It was very story heavy, a lot of action, and he's hot.
Yeah, you're right. Like, he's definitely not my favorite LI, but I loved his route.
Yeah. Shall we talk about an LI whose route we did not quite so much love?
Oh, poor Orlok. And we'll talk a little bit about why we had issues with his route at the end of this episode, because it was more a mistake that we made than his route.
Yeah, I think Objectively, his route is not bad. You learn a lot about the storyline when you go through Orlok's route.
Yeah.
And as we've gone through Dante, Nicola, Jan, you don't really get the full picture as you're playing each route. So the next LI that you go through, you learn a little bit more. You unravel the story a little bit more. So with Orlok's route, you unravel quite a lot, actually.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about who Orlok is, though.
Okay. So Orlok is the most innocent assassin you'll ever meet.
And the slowest speaking.
Yes.
He's the baby.
Yes. He's young, he's sweet looking, but he's also crazy strong.
He is.
Yeah.
He's really, really strong. He sells information to the mafia. Yeah. And so in some of the routes, that's all you know about him. He sells info to the mafia. But he is also an apostle/disciple for the church. And let's talk about that / there.
Yes. Okay, we're going to try to keep this very spoiler-free, but he works for the church, basically, and he's hiding his identity from the mafia because he's got things to do. But the whole apostle-disciple thing, in the English localization, they call it disciple. In the Japanese version...
So the word that they use is shito. And when I originally went through and I looked up that word, because obviously that's not a word that I knew before in everyday language, I found that it was translated to apostle/disciple, but it directly refers to the 12 apostles.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking to you about it, I always translated it as apostle because it made more sense and it was more specific to the church. But in the localized version, they did translate it as disciple. So I thought that was a really interesting choice to choose the vaguer word.
Yeah, I think in terms of the translation, it made more sense even after the fact for them to have chosen apostle. I think disciple is a little bit generic for his purpose, but maybe they wanted to keep it high level at the very beginning. I can imagine that being the case for them wanting to translate it that way, because disciple is a little less meaningful. In a way. So, I don't know. I'm okay with either translation, but I think apostle fits better.
Yeah. So if we say apostle when we're referring to Orlok, that's what we're referring to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, apostle, disciple, whatever. He basically works for the church. And his main goal is to take care of Lily.
Yeah. He's always protecting Lily. He's very, very, very sweet to Lily for the most part. Lily is his number one priority.
Yeah. So Dante is Nicola's number one priority. Lily is Orlok's.
Yeah. But everything else about Orlok is a secret.
End. That's all we can say. I think in terms of personality, I'll go back to the whole innocent thing. He is very, very innocent. We just talked about Jan. We just talked about Nicola. He is not like either of those characters.
I don't think Orlok knows what sex is.
I agree. He doesn't know how to handle his romantic feelings because he's never figured out that he could possibly have romantic feelings.
He's like a child in that way.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything other than what he's really been told. So when you're going through his route, the juxtaposition to the other LIs can be quite jarring.
Yeah. But I think he's a sweet character. I really... Objectively, I enjoyed his route. I learned a lot. I liked their interactions. They were very sweet, very wholesome, very cute. But yeah, it's definitely different from the other allies in this game.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go on to the last ally we're going to talk about.
Okay, the last ally is Gilbert Redford.
Gil.
The most perfect. The most wonderful.
Okay, but before we start talking about
sorry.
Gilbert Redford is the boss of the Visconti family. And the Visconti family is interesting because they used to be part of the Falzone family. Yeah,
so the whole bloodline thing that we were talking about earlier is the cause of this offshoot. And Gilbert Redford is not a Falzone. He's not part of the Falzone family. So they are an offshoot. They have become the Visconti family. They are in a different area of Burlone. And he's actually not, he's part Italian. He's half Italian, half American, right?
Yeah, he was born in Chicago. And
we totally forgot to mention that Jan's Chinese.
We did totally forget to mention that Jan's Chinese. Should we talk about Yan again? Let's backtrack a little bit. I'm not even gonna edit this in the past. Let's just go back to talking about Yan a little bit.
Just really quickly. So Nicola and Dante are both homegrown Italians.
Yeah.
Yan is the leader of the Lao Shu, and the Lao Shu actually came from China. Their home base is China. And the organization that he comes from is called the Li Huanghui. Mm-hmm. And that is based in China. So a lot of the operations that he does in Bologna is like staking out this whole this whole criminal organization with ties to the homeland. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of talks about getting information from the homeland, getting stuff from the homeland. There's a lot of like overlap there between China and Italy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, okay. Now that we've covered who Yan is and why the heck he's in Italy,
yeah,
let's go back to Gilbert.
Okay. So Gilbert's half American, half Italian. Mm-hmm. I think his mother was Italian. His father was from Chicago.
Yeah, and he was born in Chicago, and he lived in Chicago until he was like 7 or 8, mm-hmm. and then ended up moving back to Italy with his mom, mm-hmm. and joining the Visconti family, mm-hmm. and really rising up the ranks really quickly.
Yeah. So that's how he became the boss. Mm-hmm. He is the number one guy in the Visconti family.
Yes.
Yeah.
And instead of capo, they call him boss.
That's right.
He is the boss.
He is boss.
And he is boss.
He's definitely boss. He is excitable and wonderful, and he loves guns.
He is the type of man who will bring a cannon to a gunfight.
There is hard evidence for that in this game.
There is hard evidence.
Despite his love of guns and violence, he is still a wonderful man.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is basically perfect, minus having a bad left eye and not being able to wear his jacket properly.
Okay, so I love the way he looks, personally. I love the eye patch.
You just like men with eye patches.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not gonna shame for a disability. I think he's gorgeous regardless of whether or not he can see out of his left eye. Also, the way he wears his jacket, it's very suave. Like one arm off, one arm on, and
yeah,
oh
he
God,
is. He's very suave. He's very flirty. But I think a big difference between his flirty and Nicola's flirty is that Gil's flirty is very sincere.
Yeah, it does seem much more genuine. Yeah. With Nicola, you know that there's like this teasing, there's something behind his intentions.
It's subterfuge.
Yeah, it totally is subterfuge, you're right.
He flirts as a distraction, and Gil flirts because he's just saying what he thinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that. It does feel more genuine with him, the interactions with him. He also loves to spoil Lily.
He does.
I'm not usually one who loves gifts in relationships, but when he's started buying her like dresses and jewelry, I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. Also, every CG, she's wearing a different outfit.
Yeah. And here's the thing, because I don't normally like people or characters like this, because a lot of the times it seems like, oh, well, they're trying to like
buy her affection.
Yeah, buy her affections, but Gil isn't. Gil is just doing it because he wants to, and he doesn't expect a damn thing back from Lily.
Yeah, I really like that about Gil.
Yeah, he really cares about her opinion and her comfort level, which is not something that a lot of people do in this game. They don't really ask Lily's opinion. And
well, I think they do ask Lily's opinion in terms of the context of what's going on in the plot. Like, that does happen quite a bit. But, I don't know, I think he genuinely cares about her feelings and her thoughts outside of the circumstances, outside of the context of what's going on in the storyline. Like, he really genuinely cares about their relationship.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're a little biased.
We're a lot biased.
We love Gil.
We love Gil a lot. And at least with his route, you have to play Gil's route last.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have an option of doing Gil earlier on, because his route is kind of the closest to
the true route.
So you learn like everything that you know about this game, like you will find out in Gil's route, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So our overall non-spoilery thoughts.
For me, it's 10 out of 10 would play it again.
Piofiore no Bancho is in my top 5 Otome games. It's got an amazing story.
Yep, and our MC we love her so much. She's so relatable.
Yeah, the LIs are all really, really interesting. Even if you don't like them necessarily as like a romantic partner, they're going to be interesting to you.
And murder. I mean, I love games with murder. I can't, what's not to love there?
What's not to love? Yeah. The writers did a really amazing job of creating 1920s Italian life.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed really authentic.
It really did. Like the art, the character style, the overly descriptive mentions of Italian food and coffee.
You will learn so much about Italian food and coffee in this game. Like, at any time they eat, it's not like, oh, and they sat down to have dinner. They will describe the appetizer. They will describe what type of bread they have on the side. They will describe all of the side dishes. They will describe the main course. They will describe the wine that they're drinking, and then they'll describe dessert, and then they'll describe what type of after-dinner coffee they will have.
Yeah, and each coffee is different. They talk about the difference between espresso and lattes, and oh my gosh, it's wonderful.
Do you know how hard it was for me to translate this game?
I remember when you were going through this, because not only were you trying to understand the Italian, but they translated from Italian to Japanese, and then you're going from Japanese into English into Italian again? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was, yeah. It took me a while to get through this game.
I will say, though, now that I finished the game, I have a hard craving for all Italian food. And desserts. Sfogliatelle, oh my god, I love that stuff. It's delicious.
We should go get some Italian food.
We should. Maybe we should do that as our final for this set of episodes.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Anyways.
I don't know. I think they did a really great job. It didn't feel weird at all, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode. It felt very authentic, and, like, I'm super, super excited for the next localization.
Oh, 1926 is
1926 is going to be so brilliant for me to play through.
Yeah, I have already played the Japanese version. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I am going to say really quickly, it is significantly darker than the first game, but it's
That's
very,
a high
very
bar,
good.
Because this game is pretty dark.
It is significantly darker.
Wow. Okay.
It is significantly darker. Like, some parts were a little too much for even me.
Wow.
But anyways, let's go into the route orders that we played, and then what our recommended route order will be, because those are different things.
I agree. Those are different things. So I played through... Well, maybe you should go through how you played, because how I decided was based off of your playthrough.
Yeah, so I did Dante, Nicola, Jan, Orlok, and then, of course, Gil last, because you have to do him last.
You also have to do one of the Falzone family members first.
That's true. You have to do Dante or Nicola first. You have no option there.
Exactly. So you have to do Dante or Nicola first, and then you have to do Gil last. So really, the Falzone are interchangeable between each other, but Jan and Orlok are somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I really wanted to play Nicola's route because I was super excited after hearing Vicky play it. So I did Nicola first, then I did Jan, then I did Orlok, and then I did Dante right before I did Gil. And I think, personally, like, that worked really well, except for us both experiencing what we like to call the Jan effect.
The Jan effect. So, guys, here's the thing. Jan's route is so insane and action-packed, anyone who you play after him is going to seem kind of boring. And there's just no way around it.
Yeah.
So we both made the mistake of doing Jan's route and then Orlok's route.
I felt so bad for Orlok, because there were times where I'd be playing it and I would just fall asleep.
Orlok is very soft-spoken. His route, although plot-heavy, goes a little bit slower. And so, in our opinions, the absolute worst thing you can do is play Orlok's route right after Jan's route.
Yeah. So don't do that. If you haven't played this game, please don't do that. Definitely do Orlok maybe right before Jan or right before Nicola or Dante, because doing Jan before Orlok was a grave error on our parts. Yeah.
So this is what we would recommend in terms of route order.
So we actually have different recommendations.
They're slightly different. And we have reasons for that. So it's just going to depend on how you want to play and what you like to do in terms of information.
Yeah.
So
for me, I really like to experience and learn more as I go, start to kind of like unravel the threads. So I think doing Nicola first was a really good start, because you don't learn that much about the plot line. Like, it's a very good start into like why Lily's there, but you don't get the whole picture. Then I would say do Orlok, following Nicola, and then right after Orlok, Jan, and then do Dante right before you do Gil.
Okay.
Yeah.
And see, what I like is I like to make sure that I get a good base of information so that I'm not really confused as I go through other things. So I was actually really happy that I did Dante's first because Dante's route reveals a decent amount of information about one of the underlying issues, and there are multiple underlying issues in this game. Some of them you find out in Dante's route, and some of them you find out in Gil's route. You find out little bits and pieces in everyone else's routes as well, but I was really glad to have gotten the information from Dante's route that I did before going on to everyone else's. So my recommendation would actually be switching Nicola and Dante from your recommendation. Yeah. I would go Dante, Orlok, Jan, Nicola, and Gil. But another reason why I would do that is because Nicola's route does have enough twists and turns that I don't think it would make you fall asleep after Jan's.
No. Nicola's route was very, very interesting still. I just prefer to have a kind of like eye-opening story progression. So I think having Dante and Gil next to each other made it a little bit cleaner for me to pull everything apart. Yeah. Because with Nicola, like it is very exciting, but you don't learn as much as you do with Dante's route.
Exactly.
So, if you like to play through the game like me, where it's pretty, like you learn more as you go along and you don't need necessarily to have that base understanding at the very beginning, then I would say definitely do Nicola first and then do Dante before Gil. Yeah. But if you're like Vicky, definitely do Dante first.
Yeah, exactly. So, now that we've got the recommended route order out of the way, we would like to play a little game with you guys.
Hey, I think you guys know what game this is going to be.
What game is it?
This is called Bone, Marry, Yeet Off a Cliff!
So, last night, we were driving. We were sitting on the freeway, driving. Well, Vika was driving. I wasn't driving. I don't drive anywhere.
We also couldn't be driving together at the same time. That's not how cars work.
Shh. Anyways, we were talking about how we wanted to do Bone, Marry, Yeet Off a Cliff for this episode, and we were discussing who we were going to choose. Yeah. And we realized very quickly that if we knew who we were going to choose, then our answers would be really predictable and just kind of boring.
Yeah, exactly the same. So what we decided to do was pull the choices out of a hat. Or in this case, an Ikemen Sengoku mug with Yukimura's face on it. So if you hear any, like, mixing around, it's the little papers inside of our mug. And then I'm going to let Vicky pull.
Okay, so I'm going to be pulling 3 names out, and we have to choose Bone, Marry, Yeet Off a Cliff.
All right, who's our first choice?
Our first is Nicola.
Okay, nice. Who's next?
Next is Jan.
Oh, dear. Oh, please. Oh, please.
And last is Gil.
Oh, no!
So, guys,
this did not go the way we wanted it to go.
We have to explain why we're laughing right now. The entire reason why we wanted to pull these out of a mug is because we were talking about choosing these 3 characters, and our answers would be the same.
Okay, well, we might as well let them know.
Okay.
For Nicola, for me, definitely would bone.
I would bone him.
Hot shit.
Yep, definitely bone
hot
him.
Shit. Mm-hmm. Marry?
Gil.
Hands down.
We would both marry Gil.
Yeah. And then yeet off a cliff?
I'd yeet Jan so far off a cliff.
That's right. So I was thinking if it wasn't between Nicola and Jan, I might choose to bone Jan instead. But, like, if you have Jan there, like, you're gonna yeet him off a cliff no matter what.
I don't know. I'd be afraid to bone Jan. Like, I don't want to get murdered.
Yeah, he does murder. Like,
people. Yeah, he murders a lot of people.
He does.
I don't want to be anywhere near him, let alone be near his penis.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we were thinking. And we were also thinking if anyone else was going to play this with us, that they'd have a similar experience.
I don't know. I think a lot of people would choose to yeet Nicola and bone Jan instead.
Really?
Yeah. So, guys, we're going to post this on Twitter after the episode comes out. Please let us know. Bone, Marry, Yeet Off a Cliff, Nicola Francesca, Gilbert Redford, and Jan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, We'll close out this episode by giving a huge shout out and big thank you to Una Tempest from Sweet and Spicy Reviews. They did an interview with us for the Community Spotlight series, and we had such a blast answering the questions. So we'll be linking the article in the description for this episode. Definitely go check out Una's blog, Sweet and Spicy Reviews. We'll include the link and everything in the description as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Una. We had a lot of fun talking to each other and talking to you to do this article.
Yeah.
If you like what you hear and would like to support us, we have a Buy Me a Coffee account where you can donate to us keeping the podcast going.
We also have a Twitter and Instagram where you can stay updated on what we're up to and other cool Otome-related stuff.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Bye!